Ready to have your mind blown about the future of gaming? We're diving deep into how AI is changing the game. And
Hmm.
no, I'm not just talking about fancy graphics.
Yeah, we're way beyond that now.
Think infinite worlds, characters that write their own stories,
It's wild.
and maybe even AI designing entire games.
Mm-hmm.
Buckle up, because this
Mm-hmm.
is one deep dive you don't want to miss.
It's true. We're at this crazy point where AI isn't just a tool for developers anymore. It's becoming like their creative partner in crime.
Okay, let's unpack this. I know what you're thinking. Hold on, AI is already in my games, right?
Right?
And you're not wrong. But what we're seeing now is just the tip of the iceberg. Things are about to get a whole lot wilder.
Exactly. One area where AI is already making waves is procedural content generation, or PCG for short.
PCG, okay.
This is where AI actually creates game elements for the developers.
Oh, really?
We're talking about the scale and variety that would take human developers' lifetimes to create.
It's like having a world-building machine that never sleeps, right? And it's not just some futuristic fantasy. This is happening right now. No Man's Sky, with its universe of procedurally generated planets, plants, even alien life. I mean, it's so vast.
Yeah.
It would take millions of years to see it all.
Millions, maybe even billions. That's the beauty of PCG. It allows for these practically infinite possibilities, keeping games fresh and exciting for way longer. And for developers, it means less time spent on those tedious, repetitive tasks and more time focusing on the heart and soul of the game, crafting compelling stories, designing innovative gameplay mechanics.
And what's cool is that this technology isn't just limited to these massive space exploration games. You know what else uses PCG? Minecraft. That game we all know and love, where every world you generate is different thanks to, you guessed it, AI.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine that on a massive intergalactic scale like No Man's Sky. It really starts to change how we think about what a game can be, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And this is just the beginning. AI is also breathing new life into those characters we used to call NPCs. Remember the days when they just kind of stood around waiting for you to interact with them? Well, AI is changing all that.
Yeah, those background characters that used to feel more like, well, background scenery. It always kind of broke the immersion a bit.
Right. Games like The Last of Us Part 2 are really pushing the boundaries of what AI-controlled characters can do. We're talking about NPCs that behave with a level of autonomy and realism we've never seen before. They react dynamically to the player's actions, making the world feel much more reactive and alive.
It's not just about making them seem more alive, though. It's about making them feel like individuals, each with their own motivations and responses. This is where things start to get really interesting. You remember the Nemesis system in Shadow of Mordor, right?
Oh, absolutely. Groundbreaking stuff.
Your nemesis in that game, this orc, wouldn't just die and be forgotten. It would remember your encounters, your victories, even your defeats. They'd level up and come back even stronger, even taunt you based on your past battles. It made the whole experience so personal, it felt like you were forging this unique rivalry throughout the entire game.
Exactly. It was a brilliant example of how AI can completely change how we connect with games, how we feel about the characters, even the enemies we face. And speaking of AI shaking things up, it's even changing how games challenge us with adaptive difficulty.
Okay, now this is where things get really cool. It's not about making games easier or harder, but about making them more engaging for every player, regardless of their skill level. And we've actually seen this for a while now, even if we didn't realize it. Think about Left 4 Dead. That game had an AI director working behind the scenes. And this director, it was basically messing with you the entire time.
In the best way possible. It would analyze your gameplay, how well you were doing, where you were struggling, and then it would dynamically adjust the game on the fly. You're breezing through a level. Suddenly, you've got hordes of zombies coming at you from every angle. On the ropes, low on health and ammo, the director might just drop a much-needed health pack in your path.
It's like the game itself is playing with you.
Wait.
Right? And it worked brilliantly. Kept you on your toes, made every playthrough feel different. You never knew what to expect.
And that's the beauty of what AI brings to the table, right? It's this constant evolution of the gaming experience. And speaking of evolution, we've gone from AI making parts of games to practically directing the action behind the scenes. But here's where things get really interesting. What if AI could handle the art and design too?
Now we're talking. It's one thing to have AI creating these vast worlds, but to actually design them, to give them that unique visual style,
Yeah.
that feels like the next frontier, right?
It is, and we're already seeing it happen. We're not talking about replacing artists, though. It's more about giving them new tools to boost their creativity. Tools like Artbreeder and Deep Dream can generate incredible concept art and landscapes, all based on parameters set by the artist.
So instead of spending hours sketching out different ideas, artists can use AI to visualize those concepts in a flash, then refine and build upon them. It's like having an AI brainstorming partner bouncing ideas back and forth.
Exactly. And it allows for so much more experimentation. Artists can explore a wider range of styles, a broader palette of colors, even generate entirely new visual elements they might never have thought of before. And this isn't just some fringe technology limited to indie developers.
Oh, yeah.
Big studios are embracing AI too.
Yeah, I was reading about Ubisoft, the studio behind, massive franchises like Assassin's Creed and Far Cry. They're using AI through their Ubisoft LaForge program to create some truly stunning visuals.
And more importantly, it allows them to iterate and refine those visuals much faster, streamlines the entire design process. But here's the big question that always comes up when we talk about AI and creativity. Could it ever write a game? And I don't just mean dialogue, but the entire story, the characters, the world, everything.
It's the holy grail, isn't it?
Yeah.
To have an AI that could craft a narrative experience as compelling and emotionally resonant as anything a human could create.
Right, now we're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
But we are seeing glimpses of that potential. Games like Detroit, Become Human, already offer branching narratives shaped by player choice. You make a decision, and the story adapts, leading you down different paths.
But we're still talking about a limited number of predetermined outcomes. Right?
Yeah.
What if AI could create a story that truly adapts to your every decision, not just a handful of pre-programmed choices?
That's the dream. And some developers are actively working towards it. Quantic Dream, the studio behind Detroit, Become Human, are at the forefront of this AI-driven storytelling revolution. They're developing technology where your choices aren't just picking from option A or option B. They have a genuine ripple effect on how the narrative unfolds.
Now that's what I'm talking about, that feeling of truly shaping the story, of your actions having real weight and consequence. That's something AI could really elevate.
And it's not just about the broad strokes of the narrative either. Companies like Spirit AI are developing AI that can write dialogue on the fly, making conversations feel far more natural, more unscripted. Imagine playing a game where every conversation with every character feels completely unique and spontaneous no matter how many times you play through it.
Okay, now you're just blowing my mind. So we've gone from AI generating planets to AI potentially writing our games for us. But let's dive even deeper into the what-if territory. What if AI could design entire games from scratch?
Wow.
Not just levels, but the whole shebang, the mechanics, the rules, everything.
Now that is a fascinating prospect. And it might not be as far-fetched as it sounds. We already have AI systems like generative adversarial networks, or GANs for short.
GANs.
Ugh.
That sounds a little intimidating.
It's simpler than it sounds. Basically, GANs put two AIs against each other.
Okay.
One AI tries to create something, say, a Mario level, while the other AI acts like a judge, trying to determine if the level is actually a real Mario level or one created by the first AI.
So it's like an AI boot camp for game design. They keep going back and forth until the designer AI is creating levels that are indistinguishable from those made by humans. That's wild.
Exactly. And what's really exciting is that this technology isn't just limited to recreating existing games. We could feed an AI a set of parameters, a genre, a style, a mood, and it could potentially generate multiple game prototypes for developers to then refine and develop further.
So instead of starting with a blank page, developers could have a library of AI-generated concepts to choose from, giving them a massive head start. That could change everything. Small teams could suddenly tackle projects of a scale that seemed impossible before.
It could democratize game development in a way we've never seen, but AI's potential goes beyond just making the games. It could revolutionize how we experience them, too.
It really could. You know what they say? Work smarter, not harder.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
And when it comes to game development, one area that could always use a bit of smarter is quality assurance. We're talking about bugs, glitches, those frustrating moments that take you right out of the experience.
Right. Quality assurance, or QA, is traditionally a very labor-intensive process. Think of all those times you've encountered a bug in a game, right? It's likely that a human tester discovered that bug after hours of playing. AI is changing all that.
Wait, so you're telling me that AI could actually help us say goodbye to game-breaking bugs? Now that's something I can get behind. Tell me more.
There are tools, for example, Game Driver, that use AI to automate the bug testing process. Instead of relying solely on human testers, AI can simulate thousands, even millions, of different player actions and interactions, identifying potential issues at a speed no human team could ever match.
That's insane.
Yeah.
It's like having a super-powered QA team working 24/7, making sure every nook and cranny of the game is polished to perfection.
Precisely. And this translates to fewer bugs on release, which means we get to enjoy smoother, more polished games from day one. But AI's impact on the technical side goes far beyond just squashing bugs. It's also being used to make games look and feel more realistic than ever before, particularly when it comes to character animation.
Oh, right. I was reading about this. It's not just about making characters move more realistically, is it? It's about giving them a sense of weight, of physical presence in the world.
Exactly. AI can learn from real-world motion capture data, analyzing how humans move, how they interact with their environment. This data is then used to create character animations that look and feel incredibly lifelike.
And this is huge for open-world games, right? Games like Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption, they have hundreds, sometimes thousands,
Yeah.
of NPCs going about their lives. Now imagine if all those characters moved with the fluidity and nuance of real people.
It would completely change the sense of immersion. You wouldn't just be watching these digital puppets going through their routines. You'd be witnessing virtual life unfolding before your eyes. It's an incredibly exciting prospect.
It really is. It's like those old sci-fi movies where they talk about creating truly sentient AI. We're not quite there yet, but it feels like we're getting closer, one step at a time.
And speaking of AI becoming more sophisticated, it's even starting to change how games are coded at the most fundamental level.
Okay, now we're really getting to the nitty-gritty of it. So is AI going to start writing its own code now?
Well, not entirely on its own.
Yeah.
Yet. But AI-assisted coding is already a reality. There are platforms, GitHub Copilot, for example,
Right.
that can analyze existing code, suggest improvements, and even generate entire functions. It's like having a super smart coding buddy looking over your shoulder, offering helpful tips and tricks.
That would be amazing. I can imagine how much easier that would make a developer's life. No more late nights hunched over a keyboard trying to find that one missing semicolon.
Exactly. AI can handle those tedious, repetitive tasks, freeing up developers to focus on the more creative aspects of coding, like designing elegant solutions to complex problems.
So where could this lead in the future? Could AI eventually take on even more complex coding tasks? Maybe even designing entire game systems based on a developer's vision?
It's certainly possible. Imagine a future where a developer could describe their dream game to an AI outlining their vision for the gameplay, the mechanics, the world, and the AI could then generate the underlying code base.
That would be revolutionary. It would be like having an army of AI programmers at your disposal, ready to bring your wildest gaming fantasies to life.
It could empower small teams and indie developers to create games of unprecedented scale and complexity.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from AI generating entire universes to AI potentially writing its own code. It's clear that AI is poised to completely reshape the gaming landscape in ways we can only begin to imagine. What AI advancements in gaming have you most excited? Let us know. Until next time, keep exploring, keep playing, and keep your minds open to the incredible possibilities of AI.